So good.
That
Welcome.
was great.
That was great. And that was Kyle.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. I'll let you introduce yourself. But Kyle is one of our colleagues at Urban Core Collective. Really excited to have you here today.
Big smarty pants.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Yeah.
My name's Kyle. I'm a part of the education justice team at Urban Core Collective. So we do a lot of organizing with parents and students and building level staff in schools to try to bring about the things that they want and need in school systems. But I'm actually here today to talk about a kind of joint campaign that we're all working on together.
Dun, dun.
It's our big group project.
Our big group project, the Everyday People, Everyday Power movement.
Yes.
Boom, boom. That's right.
We got to get that button
I
in
know,
here.
I
In,
know.
in this
You
studio,
would.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, that would not be okay.
They would love to hate us.
Oh man. But no, it's super exciting. This campaign launched last year, correct? Well, not this portion of it, but Everyday People, Everyday Power.
That's right.
And so yeah, it's super cool. It's this like thing that keeps living. It's breathing, and we're here to talk about it. So yeah.
Well, first, can you tell us kind of a little bit about where this movement was birthed and
Yeah.
kind of how it's grown to this point before we really dive in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this comes very much out of what we at the Urban Core Collective at UCC really believe, which is that the people, everyday people, should have the power to be able to determine their own fates, right? To bring into reality the kinds of worlds that they want to live in,
Yeah.
and to protect themselves from the threats
Yeah.
to that vision. And so I think we've been thinking and working along these lines for a long time. And last year, like you said, when it was a really critical election year for many in our communities, that tagline, which I got to give shout out to, was birthed by Addie Donnelly, our democracy organizer.
I didn't know she's the one that
Yeah,
coined
man,
that
we gotta
for
give.
us.
Yeah, she's gonna be getting some royalties now.
Yeah. Right.
But we gotta give her a shine at least.
No,
So,
she definitely deserves that.
Yeah, Addie came up with this idea of like everyday people, everyday power, and so they ran it last year as a
Nice.
part of democracy's work
So
around
even I'm learning something new.
get out the vote and stuff like that. And as we learned about what was going on in communities, because they were doing canvassing and stuff like that, we just felt like there was an opportunity for us to continue this this building of this movement
Yeah.
that was kind of started last year, and to keep that energy going for us. And the goal here, as we talk about the Everyday People, Everyday Power movement, is really to build a movement of people here in Kent County, right? We're
Yeah.
not talking about abstractly, like, I mean, yeah, we're connected to other social movements, but
Yes, right.
we really want to build a local base
Yeah.
of people that are committed to creating kind of a loving and just world for all of our neighbors.
Yeah.
And some of the ways that we're going to be able to bring that into being is through some of the organizing work we have coming up around these ballot initiatives, which we're going to be talking about. One of which is taking back our power. So
Yeah.
really excited to talk with y'all more about that.
Can
What
I?
I-
Oh, go ahead. Well, so I was gonna say, can I ask a question? And I know we don't want to. Not that I don't want to say this, because I want to say this, right? Voting is very important. Voting is very important, especially at the local level. But can I just ask, from your perspective, why is voting so important? Like, why should somebody even care about getting involved in a ballot initiative?
And why is it only the first step?
Yeah. Those are great questions. If you're anything like me, you're very disillusioned with the electoral system in general. The game feels rigged, right?
Yeah,
Like we
right.
can't win any which way. And that's something which actually really draws me to the idea of ballot initiatives. Because in reality, ballots are where people can come together and write the law. And through the power of the people, right, our numbers, we're able to get that law written into law at the state level and at the local level, right? So it's really a popular mechanism for us to control our own fates.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas when we depend on committee processes and legislative processes, there's so many other competing interests,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
which is why we're running Taking Back Our Power, which we'll talk more about, particularly in places like Lansing, over our lawmakers, that it feels really, really hard for communities to get what we want and need
Yeah.
from those decision makers. So that's why I would say if you're feeling disillusioned with voting and sort of the electoral process, I feel you. And I think there's other stuff happening at the state level, right? When we're talking with trying to bring some energy to other parties and stuff like that, the Working Party and stuff like that. But really, this ballot initiative work is a really form of popular democracy, sort of direct democracy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I feel really excited about it,
Yeah. It almost feels like a choice as to what you're going to vote for, less than like, here you go.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the bill that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's usually
Here's
very
the person that
top-down.
you're supposed, you have to vote for. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we're coming up with the things that we think is going to be best for communities, and our communities are proving that we want it by them signing on to it,
Come on.
right? So it's like it's saying like, yes, this is what we want, and we're going to do this for Grand Rapids, or
Yeah.
we're going to do this for Kent County.
Yeah, and these are all statewide. So
Yeah.
this would be
Yep.
for all Michiganders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because right now, federally, we feel a little bit hopeless, right? It doesn't feel. I don't feel connected to the changes that are happening.
That's right.
Heck no.
Yeah, so this personally it excites me as well because, look,
Yeah.
I
This is
didn't even
everyday
really make it
people
out of high
using
school.
Our everyday power. Come on, y'all.
Yeah,
Let's
so
go into the
it's
thing.
just it's cool. It's cool to be able to exercise that.
And just to do some level setting too for folks who may not be familiar with how ballot initiatives work, would you mind explaining how those are different from bills that go through the House, or like how do they become law basically?
Yeah. So in order for people to even be able to vote on a ballot initiative, you have to get enough signatures from across the state to be able to get it on there. Basically, they're trying to, the process determines, like, do enough people actually want to vote on this for us to even put it on the ballot
Yep.
in November?
Yeah.
So our target is to get these ballot initiatives on the November 2026 election, right?
Okay.
So that when you go to your polling location and you're voting on ballot initiatives, that these three pieces of legislation are things that we're asking the people to vote on. But in order for us to do that, we have to go around the state and collect signatures. And we've done the math for y'all. It's roughly between 400 to 700,000 signatures. The math is
Wow.
calculated by voter turnout and who voted for the previous governor election, so the
Okay.
the 2024
So the
election.
threshold can change every time.
It changes all the time, and it's
Okay.
actually been increasing over time.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like 400 to 600,000, or sorry, to 700,000.
Something light.
So in that range, and I give you such a big range because it's kind of different for all three. Their
Yeah.
targets are a little bit different depending on what you're trying to, kind of legislation that you're trying to amend.
Yeah.
That's getting a little bit into the weeds, but the gist of it is you got to go around and ask people, do you even want to be able to vote on this first?
Right.
Collect those signatures, and you usually have 180 days from when the language for your policy is passed by the Board of Canvassers. You have 180 days to be able to collect those signatures. And
That's
to
a
be able to get
tight
it on
timeline.
Yeah, so it's quick. It'll come quick, about 6 months.
So if somebody wanted to pass a law, or like a group of
Yeah.
people wanted to pass a law, they would first draft that language for a ballot initiative and then submit it to
The Board of Canvassers.
the
is
Board
the
of
name
Canvassers,
that
which I'm guessing is like a
institution.
state board.
Correct.
Okay. And then after that is when the signature collection happens. And then once that happens, then it's set to be on the ballot for the next election. And then everybody can vote on it, right?
That's right.
So
And that's when we got to let the people know,
Yeah.
right? That these are going to be on the ballot for
Yeah.
2026, and that we need to get out and vote for them because they're going to help our communities. In
Okay.
really
And last
beneficial
process
ways.
question. So basically,
Yeah.
once it gets voted,
Mhm.
does it then, bam, become law? Like, does it have to go through all the usual channels of committees and people and all that stuff? Like, it just, bam.
Yeah, it depends. So there's statutory amendments, right, which are more debatable by legislators. legislators. And then there's constitutional amendments, which change the law directly themselves.
I have heard about, like, the
yeah, there's
Green
kind of
Amendment
two
and stuff.
different approaches to ballot initiatives in terms of what they're trying to do. And they're contestable in different kinds of ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool,
Ugh.
though. I see,
Yeah.
I didn't even know
It
that.
is
That
a
shit,
lot.
yeah.
Well, it's the kind of thing that
It
they also just, like,
is.
I don't know if I remember, I don't know that I was taught this in school, that people can just write the law themselves.
No, and I just, I think this is why people don't approach this. Why people don't even think about, like, how am I going to change the law? How would I go about this? Because it's just like, oh, well, you can do that. It's pretty easy. You just have to do this, and it has to be by this, and it has to be done by this, and you got to get enough signatures, and this is that number. Last year it was this, and it's just, and so it's dope to see people decide that they want to do this, because it is so much to take on.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's important, like, to properly get this message out there.
That's
That's
right.
why it's important for us to, as a community, decide what we really want, because again, we don't really know what our communities could look like depending on what our, federal administration wants to invest in over the next 4 years. We just don't know what that money is going to look like and where it
Yeah.
comes from. And so, yeah, let's quite literally take back our power, which is why it's easy to say, but like, because we are the everyday people who are having this experience.
That's right.
And yeah, we know door to door. What do people care about, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So
So you've been mentioning this magic number 3. What are those 3 initiatives that's part of the movement?
Yeah. So, we're really saying, what we're really trying to do with this campaign is build this movement. Everyday people, everyday power, turning out, getting organized, right? Because we're good at turning out sometimes.
Yeah.
We're
And
not
turning
always
up.
good at getting organized and, like, getting the stuff done. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So this gives us an outlet for that. And what we're saying by supporting 3 community building ballot initiatives. And those 3 are called Fund My Future, which is really a ballot initiative to raise revenue for our public schools, which are in dire need of more money, particularly given some of the threats that are coming down the
Yes.
pipe at the federal level.
yeah, no kidding.
The second one is called Family Leave Optimal Coverage, or FLOC. And what that is trying to do is make sure that all Michiganders have access to paid family leave, at least 15 weeks of paid family leave. And we'll talk through some of the nuance of that, because that one, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about. And the last one that what I really want to talk to y'all about
I know, and I keep saying
is
it.
taking back our power.
Yeah.
Which is really an attempt to curb the ability of big corporations like DTE and consumers in the energy climate justice space from having an oversized power in Lansing by being able to use money that they take from the state and lobby for legislation that's in their favor.
Exactly.
Yep.
So those are the 3, what we're calling community building ballot initiatives, right? Increase revenue for our schools, help make our schools better, give the students, give the kids what they need,
Yeah.
right? Keep big corporate companies out of our politics, right? Which ends up resulting in us paying more for our
Yeah,
energy
of
bills.
course.
I don't know about y'all, but my energy bill this month was crazy.
Yeah.
They're never fun.
And the last one, making sure that every worker in Michigan has access to leave to be able to take care of themselves, take care of their families and their communities, right? So this is like basic
It's
stuff for
basic
us
stuff
that we
for
think will
us.
really, really have a felt difference for every person
Of
in King
course.
County.
Yeah, for sure.
And really across the state of Michigan, yeah.
It's just the honest to God truth. I don't care who you are and what you think. If my neighbor is better off, I am better off. They are happier, they are healthy, they're less likely to be grumpy or, I don't know, tell my landlord that I did something stupid. Like, I just, we all want for people, I love to see kids wanting to be excited about education. I love to see, families able to take the time they need. Like, there's just nothing about this that is not compelling.
Yeah, and I would say that none of these three things are brand new.
No.
And that place, other states, even some of our neighboring states, right, in the Midwest, are taking significant strides in these areas,
Right.
and are implementing these things and seeing a lot of benefits. So there's good evidence around why when we take care of our people, right, it actually benefits everybody.
Yeah, which is like some people, and like that's ultimately like the goal, right? Like
That's right.
just like nobody gets left behind on this, and
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry, but when we start talking about this stuff, I'm like fucking eye roll.
it seems so obvious. It seems so
100%.
obvious.
This is not a new concept at all, but it is very cool that, you know, we're a part of trying to make this, you know, happen for Michiganders. If we're going to live here and we want to enjoy, you know, the beautiful weather and all the other things, we got to enjoy the winter when energy bills are through
That's
the
right.
roof. We got to enjoy the entire, you know, experience and make it a little bit easier for people to do that as well.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that it's just Urban Core Collective or UCC that's bringing together these three ballot initiatives.
I mean, yeah, especially
to
for not
the
something
people,
statewide.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
each of these initiatives are being supported by folks across the state, and each of the steering committee for each ballot initiative has decided to come together in order to share resources, right? To share resources to do signature collection,
Yeah.
shared resources around messaging and stuff like that. And they're calling themselves Michigan for the Many. And so if you're seeing other
Is
stuff
that
that's like
a
Michigan for the Many.
Hashtag Michigan for
Yep,
the
hashtag
Many?
Michigan for the
Look,
Many.
that's catchy.
Which we're like everyday people, everyday power, hashtag Michigan for the Many. Come on, it
Yeah.
works, you know.
It really
They
does.
talk to each other.
And yeah, so just if you're in a different part of Michigan and you're seeing some of that, those are our people,
Yeah.
too. But we're running everyday people, everyday power, specifically here for Kent County, just to really create some juice, locally for us to be able to take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good. All right. Can we get into it?
Yeah.
I'm ready. This is my favorite conversation. Look, what Nancy whispered when you said
That
DTE
they're
consumers.
Our nemesis.
These are arch nemesis.
It's the whole
Nemesi.
reason we're here.
What was that?
I said it's the whole reason we're working like in the energy justice space. Not the whole reason, but you know, it's
Yeah.
puts a fire under our butts for sure.
Yeah. So let's start with taking back our power. And I want to kind of thread back to the other two because
Of course.
I think they're all connected.
Absolutely.
But, you know, this is Green Rapids, and we want to talk about climate justice first. And so I think this is a really, really good one.
But
and go ahead.
While you are saying this, I think this, just because before we started recording, we were talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, climate justice, always climate justice, but that's because it's tied to all of these other things.
That's right.
Like, if we are better educated from the ground up, we are better off as a society. We'll have inventors, we'll have innovators, we'll have folks that want to go into trades that make our future cleaner. If families have healthier experiences, you know, it's going to be better for the environment if they don't have to go to work or make these mindless trips or spend money on things that they don't need to.
Yeah.
And you know, just so every single thing that we do is tied to our environment, the direct environment that we live in. And that direct environment has the ability to impact the climate. So absolutely, like, let's talk about this, but also let's talk about the reality of social injustices across the U.S. and how that largely contributes to all of the other things we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I'll start maybe with the through line then across all three initiatives, which is really this idea that we've given too much power away to corporations in each of these realms at the expense of, in the case of schools, our students and teachers and their families. In the case of, you know, climate justice, to corporations that don't really care about the climate, very obviously don't, that are driven by profit interests alone.
Yep.
And in the case of for workers, right, profit for business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's across the board, right, from
Yeah.
small business to big corporations.
Yes.
Often we're in a world where we struggle to protect workers based on the context in which we live in. So across all three of these initiatives, really the through line for us is that we've been given so much of our power away.
Yeah.
And this is a way for us to take some of that back.
Yeah.
I think the most obvious one really is in the case of big corporate monopolies
Yes.
who receive money from the state, right? So like a DTE or consumers, they receive money from the state to provide this essential public service in the form of energy and heat.
Yes.
But then they use that money that they get from the government to be able to lobby in Lansing and create laws that let them be able to increase energy rates to drive their profits.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a blatant conflict of interest, it
is
seems.
huge. Yeah.
Yet it's completely enabled. And I have a little bit of knowledge on that front, but y'all are really the experts. You've been organizing on this front for a while. So I wanted to kind of flip the script a little bit and ask you all some questions.
Sure.
And see if you can tell the people and tell them a little bit about why this feels really important.
What's your first question?
Yeah. So my first question is like, how do they do it? How are they creating the context or the environment where they can get laws passed that enable them to do things like increase our energy bills, right?
Sure. So as a quick history lesson and recap, we did a whole episode on this before, but basically, most power used to be publicly owned up until like around the Red Scare, and then all of a sudden everything that was like publicly owned was like demonized as being communist and like terrible. So a lot of our energy, if not most of our energy, became privatized, and that is part of what happened here in Michigan too.
And part of it is for good reason, and not that it was privatized, but that it was funneled into one space. Because at the time, the only way to get power was to have your own personal power source, like in your yard.
In the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, people had power lines. There were companies that would, like, put out power, and then they would have their own lines. And so the idea was one of those companies should be able to...
We need a centralized, sort of reliable...
Yeah, otherwise it was just like so many
process.
cables and lights and everything,
Yeah.
because it was like not centralized.
And
so it wasn't a shared grid system.
But to Nancy's point, there was also more public power at that time.
So that's how things got started. And then because these companies, they're usually not owned by like a person, they're usually owned by like a set of investors or shareholders that own like stocks in the company. So that's kind of the model that we have right now, where we do have that investor-owned utility. And it is an obligation for that company to guarantee profits to these investors. Now, not all companies are like that. Ideally, if you're investing in stocks, everything is uncertain and it's all to, based on like market ups and downs or whatever.
Yeah.
But some companies like DT, they are able to guarantee those increased profits because they're a monopoly. They're the only ones that, they control the market essentially. So without competition, they have the power to dictate a lot of those rates. And because they want to maintain that status quo, they obviously they get a good investment out of funding campaigns for politicians who are helping to maintain that status quo. And it kind of comes full circle, because on top of that investor-owned utility, getting money from the government, which they then use to lobby to continue getting that money from the government and maintaining the status quo, a lot of Michigan's employees' pensions and retirement accounts are also some of those shareholders and stockholders in DTE or Consumers Energy stock. So they're like throubling in there.
Yeah. And the folks that are set out, which we'll talk about in a little bit more in a minute, the folks that are supposed to regulate these companies, like the Michigan Public Service Commission, they're created by public utility companies. So they actually kind of wrote the book of how to regulate these utilities. And it's kind of like they got ahead of it, and they
Kind of
said,
like cops watching cops.
like, oh, they're going to regulate us, right? So we need to make sure that we have these relationships already kind of formed. They kind of write the rule book themselves. And so it doesn't allow for them to make a decision like, reasonable rate hikes. I mean, Consumers Energy is year after year after year getting millions of dollars. And that does come either directly from our pockets or from our tax-paying dollars. So, yeah, it's an interesting... I don't really know how we got here.
So let me just break it down, because this was a lot of information that you just provided to folks, right? And so rapid fire questions. Is DTE or consumers driven by any kind of thing to protect our natural resources?
Not currently.
Not until it obstructs their profits.
Okay, so what drives these big corporations for the people? Really easy.
Yeah, it would be the folks that they answer to, which would be the ones that are investing in their.
But the goal for those people is to make more money.
100%.
It's always to make more money. So
They're investing.
The function of these companies is to create profit for the people that are invested in them.
Yeah.
And seems like there's two ways that they do that, right? One, by taking money from the state through our tax, in the form of our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah,
Because
in
they're
the form of like
necessary.
energy assistance programs or what have you.
They're a necessary utility.
Yep.
Who doesn't need access to power?
And by charging the people directly.
Yes.
And on both fronts, we've seen increases, right? Is that right? Like we're like the everyday people are paying more. Like I said, my electric bill, like I turned auto pay off because I was like, I need to look at this before I pay it every month.
To your point, I can give you a little bit of fact
Yeah,
here.
please.
Michigan Public Service Commission has approved over 475 million rate increases for Consumers Energy alone since 2020. There is $90 million in 2020. There's $27 million in 2021, $115 million in 2023, 92 million in 2024, and then 154 million was just awarded in 2025. So they're continuing to allow for them to increase these rates. They're continuing, and really it's not specifically for the rates itself, but for them to access this amount of spending, and to do that, they have to increase our rates by a certain amount.
And then you can make the connection earlier between the Public Service Commission, the MPSC, and lawmakers, right? The people that are electeds, that are in office. What's the relationship between those two groups?
Yeah, it appointed by our governor.
The Public Service Commission is.
The Michigan Public Service Commission members are appointed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
And they make their decisions based on what? MPSC makes their decisions based on what?
Well, those actually have to be made. They make them through their own deliberations. But what's interesting about the way they make decisions is that they will only accept legal interventions. So, for example, if 1,000 people show up to their meetings and make public comment about how much they're struggling, or ways that, like, how long their outages last, and, basically come to them with their grievances, I don't know if it's like legally as in like the law, but like I think because of their own internal functioning rules, they cannot take public comment into account when making decisions.
Yeah, so over 27,000 people made comment about Line 5 and how they wanted that to be decommissioned, and they did not listen to those comments. And just recently, they have been... So things have shifted in saying that they have to do a proper environmental impact statement, but this is over the past, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 years. This is not something that has been written into their standard, for the past 100 years.
This really isn't a democratic body, the Public Service Commission.
No. Nobody votes them in, but yet they get to make the calls on whether or not we have to pay more for our bills.
And they're doing that through some kind of legal interpretation.
Yes.
Right? But then the people that write our laws are our legislators, are the people that we are voting and electing into office. And I wanted to come back, and this is just a little bit of snooping, but do y'all happen to know from your research just about how many of our Michigan legislatures, when they run their campaigns, receive money from DTE or consumers?
Let's make it fun. Take a guess.
I mean, I got it right in front of me, Nancy. Come on, just tell
He
people.
knows this answer.
Well, I will say my first guess was like maybe half. I was like, I'm willing to, and I was like, I'm more likely like the
Oh yeah, the
moderate.
Democrats are not going to take money from
No,
big
the
corporations.
Well, I
Dems
thought
are
a
supposed to
smaller
save the day.
portion of them were.
All right, but
Yeah.
let's tell the folks how many. What's the percentage of our lawmakers that take money from these folks?
Yeah, so this is a direct quote.
It's sickening.
There's an article that you can read, and maybe what we'll do is give access to this article just so folks have this. They can do their own research, but over 90%. So it says during the previous legislative session, 138 out of the 148, or 93% of state legislators, had accepted political contributions from DTE's PAC, which is their Political Action Committee, executives or lobbyists at some point in their careers, and according to analysts by the Energy and Policy Institute. So yeah, this is totals to $1.26 million going directly into the pockets of politicians here in our state alone.
Yeah.
And this is from one corporation. This is just from DTE. I don't think consumers is nearly as greasy, but they're still all doing
A
it.
Blue Cross Blue Shield, perhaps.
100%, or even thinking about like how we just now have access to seeing some of these reports. Like what did it look like? How much money was being passed around in the years previous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of crazy to me, when we think about like this loop that we're stuck in. We're paying more. Some people, right? We're getting poorer.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you, Bridge Street Fire
Damn,
House
shoddy.
for your service. Just kind of crazy to me that this loop that we're stuck in, right?
Yes.
Where it's like our people are paying more, right? We all know if you're here in Grand Rapids or in King County, like rent sure as hell is not getting any cheaper either.
Heck no.
And then our energy bills are getting higher, right?
Not
So our
even
cost
taking
of
groceries
living
into account.
is going through the
Yeah.
roof. And meanwhile, the people that we are electing into office to represent us are taking money from the very people that are squeezing us for their profits. And so it's kind of crazy to me. And I think this is really where we're at with taking back our power,
Yeah.
right? When we have to acknowledge 90%, over 90%, 93% of state legislators in Michigan, regardless of party, are
Yeah,
taking money
right.
from this one corporation.
Just the one. And to your point, it's the people in this state directly. I mean, when I think of DTE, I really have to, give it out to the folks who are living in Detroit, right? They are the ones that are paying much higher rates. They are the ones that are going often weeks without access to energy if it goes out. DTE is very unreliable. I just want to give a couple of other facts. And then we really, I know I don't want to hammer this in too hard, but like they suck, So DTE is much worse than consumers, even as far as their total energy make. So they have 65% of their energy currently coming from natural gas and coal. And it is 39.96 is coal. And then wind and solar combined is only 11%.
That's it?
Yeah, and then consumers' energy, we've got 47% of their energy comes from natural gas and coal. So, I mean, they're still using outdated practices. There are countries all over the world who aren't even touching coal at all, who have stopped using fossil fuels to power their cities.
Like Neanderthals burning coal.
Yeah, and we're just still out here, So, I mean, I think even if I heard a rate increase and I also heard like an increase in solar, an increase in wind, a decrease in our emissions, I'd be like, all right, this
What's
year
going
I'm
on?
okay with that because people are asthma rates are increasing because we have Roosevelt Park neighborhood
That's right.
who has 30% of their days are unhealthy for most
Air
groups.
quality.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Air quality.
It's insane.
So it's like, how am I supposed to be okay with these rate increases when it's not helping me, when my energy is not getting any better, when, the city isn't doing anything to try to separate from some of these deals. So, yeah, we should definitely take back our power. We should definitely take back our money. It's all we kind of have.
And I will say, too, like, this isn't just applied to energy companies, right? Like, this
That's
applies to,
right.
like,
No.
any corporation. So it's
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
we know that like our medical system here is broken,
right.
and there's a lot of barriers to access. So like this would help prevent lobbying for more of those barriers, right?
Yeah, the other one that's been coming up a lot for folks is health insurance, and the role
course.
that Blue Cross particularly plays within the political landscape.
Yeah.
So exactly that's taking back our power is not just an initiative to curtail sort of the power industry, right? But to curtail big corporate power within our political systems
Yeah.
across the board. And and those are the the policy parameters that it's putting into place for us. And it would, again, the idea here is that we don't have to be fuel for corporate profits,
Right.
right, as everyday people, but that we can actually use the power that we have to prevent that from continuing to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking of things like tech companies. You know, we've been talking a lot about data centers and how they're really coming into Michigan. And, like, you know, being able to stop Google or Amazon or Apple from making those kinds of political contributions, I think would be better for the community as well.
Yeah.
And this is some of the through line here, because some of the tax rebate money that comes for data centers and other big corporations like a Walmart or a Costco, right, in the form of the dark store rebate, that tax money, those rebates for them are coming out of our school aid fund. So these are coming out of money that's supposed to be going towards students and teachers, and now it's getting diverted towards big corporations.
Gross.
And not to mention that the entirety of our tax system in Michigan is set up to cater not only towards corporations, but to the rich.
Yeah.
Right? So if
We're a business-friendly state.
yeah,
as they
you know,
say.
and this is crazy to me because I don't think a lot of people know this, but it's actually the top 1% of Michigan income earners pay only about 5.7% effective tax rate.
Are you
And the
serious?
second and third, where probably a lot of us kind of professional, young professionals sit in terms of our income levels, we're paying about 9 to 9.7% of our an effective tax rate.
That seems so backwards.
So the people that are making the most money are actually putting the least into our public systems, which is
Wonder
crazy
why.
to us. And so what we're saying is, like, it's time for, you know, the richest in Michigan to pay their fair share.
Yeah.
100%.
And really where we need to invest in the most, one of the systems, our public systems that we need to invest in the most is our school systems.
Yeah.
Because they're terribly underfunded. Michigan is existing in about a $4.2 billion shortfall annually for our public schools, while we're cutting tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy, the top 1%. And so I just want to, like, I pulled some numbers here because sometimes when we talk about this kind of stuff, people get confused. Like, when you're talking about the rich, when you're talking about the wealthy, you're talking about, like, you might be talking about me. You know, like, maybe you own your own house and you're like, oh, well, my house is worth $300,000 and I make, $100,000 a year. Like, that puts me in that thing. And we're saying, no. It's actually just income
it's like,
earners.
Actually,
Right? So what we're trying to do through Fund My Future is institute a tax surcharge for folks that make over a certain amount of money. Right? So here in Michigan currently, everybody has a flat income tax, 4.25%. Doesn't matter if you make $10,000 a year or $10 million a year. You pay 4.25% income tax.
Yeah.
What this would do is introduce a tax surcharge. So you pay 4.25% up until, say, your first $300,000. Then anything you make more than that, you pay at the surcharged amount, which would, right now we're talking about 4 or 5%. So it would take you up to like 8.25%. For anything that you make more than $300,000, right? So it's only that you only get taxed at that rate for what you make more than.
So if I was making, you said the threshold is $300,000.
We're currently polling what the lowest we can go is.
Let's use $300,000 as an example. So let's say I was making $305,000. I would only be taxed for that surcharge amount for the additional $5,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we do this, y'all, it's projected that we can raise anywhere from 750 to 1.2 billion dollars
Wow,
a year
imagine
for our
what that would do
schools.
for the state.
And just hold on, because this is the crazy thing to me, right? Because people are always like, oh yeah, but like that's going to hurt a lot of people. We don't want to raise
Is
taxes.
it?
Like, how many people are we actually talking about here? And
How
so I
many
ran
people
the
do
number.
you personally know?
Yeah, first of all,
People get so
right?
defensive.
That's been my thing. Is I go to people and be like, "Yo, do you make more than $200,000 a year?" And I don't know anybody that does, quite honestly.
Because if you do,
Yeah,
you better
no.
give me a better gift next year.
Yeah, it's like I
And
need
they're
your
all like,
Christmas
"No, I
wishes."
don't make it." And so I'm like, "Oh, bet. So you're gonna sign up then? I got
Yeah.
you down." But these are the numbers, right? So I'm gonna go Kent County and sort of the surrounding areas. So only 4% of taxpayers in Kent County make over $200,000 a year,
4%.
and that's right around 8,000 people, individuals, right?
In all of Kent County.
In all of Kent County, 4%,
Well, now I wanna
or
know.
8,000 people. If we talk about the city of Grand
I was going to
Rapids,
say, for context, too, that we have about 180,000 people living in the city of Grand
in
Rapids.
the city of Grand Rapids,
So 8,000 out of the entire county.
correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
But how many taxpayers are making over $200,000 a year in Grand Rapids, right? 180,000. It's about 1.6%. This is 1,000 people, 1,141 people
Yeah.
we're talking about that would actually have to suffer this increased tax rate, right?
They'll
That
be
would
fine.
create such a net benefit
Yeah.
for thousands and thousands and thousands of students across the state.
And I think suffering is a relative term.
Absolutely.
When you're
These folks
talking
got
about
the money, y'all.
Yeah, I know and like it doesn't take into account the people who are like actually suffering, struggling to pay
100%.
bills, get groceries,
right.
get daycare.
Well, hold
and
on,
all those
Nancy,
things.
because I know you're a commissioner, Kent County commissioner in Wyoming. How many residents of your Wyoming residents do you think make more than $200,000 a year? Yes.
Maybe like 5.
5. It's only 387 people. 387
Yeah.
people.
See, Wyoming doesn't feel like it's that rich.
1.4% of the population.
You said
right?
1.4?
1.4% of the population. So in each of our locations, we're talking
sure they're all
about
the ones that think that they live in
1.6%, 1.8%, 1.4%
Yeah.
of our neighborhoods, our communities are going to be paying this increased tax,
Yeah.
and the benefit that we're going to get from it is going to be huge,
Yeah.
huge for our schools.
You know what that makes me think about? Like, how many people can you fit into Van Andel?
I don't know what the capacity
But
is.
you know
probably
what I
like
mean?
50,000.
Thank you. This wouldn't even make a dent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one
if all of
bleacher
these-
row.
If all of these folks were sitting in a room,
Yeah.
like when you really conceptualize like how many people this is really going to have a big impact on in Kent County, you can't even really fill.
And Kent County is one of the more affluent counties
It
in the
is.
state.
Are we?
Yeah, I mean, we have like, some of the Rochester
Yeah.
and those
That's
are
true.
probably a
Of
little
course.
bit more, but like there's money here in Kent County. I mean,
Yeah.
think of
Right, right.
think of all of the folks.
Like, well, there's
know,
like
that are
what
here.
Forest Hills and Ada, and there's
True.
Alto and all the folks on the river. I mean, and then really East Grand Rapids is in Kent County.
And
I mean,
even the city
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah, the
like,
city
we're not
itself.
too, so I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
Granville.
like, this is like people who have been getting away with paying less than their due for years and years and years now in our state,
Yeah.
and that now's the time for them to chip in, right, and help the people out.
Yeah. You know-
And the incredible net benefit that we would have from it is just, it's staggering.
Yeah.
what also I think about sometimes is like lessening the need for us to be making so much money all the time. Like, how many kids or properties or things do you need to have where over $300,000 is like not actually becoming enough? Like, not saying that you don't have the right to be able to do this or want to do the grind and get there, but like when we start talking about people, making $1 million in a year, like when we start talking
much
about
surplus.
billionaires, like how much is enough until you want to start serving your community.
That's right.
Until you want to start giving that back to folks. Or how much do you need? It's just, we're just hoarding dollars,
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do on the education front, is introduce this tax surcharge for top income earners in Michigan in order to raise, and that money, that tax capture will be earmarked for our public schools.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely get enough signatures in Kent County when you start using numbers like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's the last one, flock, which I just want to spend a little bit of time on because it's an important one too.
Of course.
A lot of people get confused about flock because there's been some it came into legislation last year as a package with the this paid sick leave stuff that ended up getting passed.
Oh, it did
but
get
they
passed.
took out the
Jesus.
flock stuff, the family leave stuff. So paid sick leave was passed, but there's some stipulations to it, right? In order for an employee to receive paid sick leave, they have to be working at a company that employs more than 50 individuals.
What?
Yeah, so pretty much any restaurant, unless they're like a big ass restaurant, is not required for their any restaurant worker doesn't get paid sick leave.
Yeah.
Most nonprofit workers like us,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
We don't work in an organization that has more than 50 people. Thankfully, we do get paid sick leave and paid leave altogether.
Yeah.
That's our structure.
That's our
Thanks,
shout out to our leadership for
Yes,
taking
no
care of its
kidding.
people.
Well, because our government currently isn't
Doesn't,
stepping up
that's
to do
right.
this.
So the number of people that wouldn't actually have access to, that do not currently still have access to paid sick leave is huge.
Yeah.
I think it's about 73% of Michiganders right now still do not have access, and not
73%?
this is to paid leave in general,
Okay.
right? And so it's an egregious number, and then additionally, paid sick leave you accumulate through working time, right? So and it caps out. I think it's at like 40 hours or something like that as
If
the
you're
most
lucky.
number of sick leave you can get.
Yeah, and in some places I've heard that could even take years to accumulate that much.
Yeah, so it's some crazy process like this. What
God.
Flock Family Leave Optimal Coverage would do is it would guarantee Michigan workers up to 12 weeks of job protected paid leave for caregiving, illness, or bereavement, right?
Okay.
And it also expands a lot of like the definitions of what you can take leave for and who you can take leave to
Yeah.
care for. So in a lot of contracts, I work in education. I was talking to the teachers union, and they said in our contract you can only take leave to care for an immediate family member.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's just like mom, dad, brothers.
Mom, dad,
siblings.
kids, something like that. Not your grandma, right?
Not my auntie.
Not your neighbor, not your auntie, right? And
Or your
not your
pet.
partner or your pet, right? If you live in a non-marriage situation. Family Leave Optimal Coverage would say, nope, regardless of that kind of relationship that you have, you're able to take your leave to care for that person. The other misunderstanding with family leave is that for that 12 weeks, the employer of record is going to have to continue to pay out the full salary to that individual.
Nice.
So when you're on paid family leave, you do get a bit of a reduced salary. I will say that. But the way in which it's funded is that every month, your employer and the employee pay into a state pool, just like Social Security.
Right.
And that when then you need to take your leave, the money comes from that pool, not from your direct employer.
Nice.
So an employer is able to set it up like a recurring business expense, just like you would for your rent, right? Every month I have to pay this much into the pool in order to make sure that my workers have leave,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? But it doesn't like suddenly, like you don't suddenly
Yeah.
get shorted the labor,
Yeah.
right? Like outside when your person takes leave. So
Yeah.
a lot of what we're hearing from big business interests is this is going to really hurt small businesses.
Right.
And it's like, no, it's not, right?
It's
Like this is a
helping.
standing business. It's going to help small businesses because they can actually retain workers. And if you talk to small businesses right now, they're like, actually hiring and finding workers is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
because
partly
they can't
becau-
often compete with those bigger companies that have beefier
Can
benefits
offer different kinds of
packages, right? Yeah.
benefit packages, right? So
Yeah.
this actually has the potential to really help
Yeah, it's
the
a great
small business
equalizer.
economy, while also helping all the people that work for them. So
It's like a preventative system, so no one gets hurt by giving access to
That's right.
the things that folks really do need.
yeah, and it's working really well in other states. I will also say that there's a lot of evidence as to why providing family leave like this is beneficial for not just for the people, But when they say it's working in other states, the metrics are usually economic ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And
Because America.
because we're in America, and it's doing that too, right? So, but which way you want to cut it, it's a really really helpful thing.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. Like Social
No.
Security already works like that.
That's right.
Even like things that we pay for like out of pocket, like car insurance, like that's kind of how that works too. Like like the money is put into giant funds, and then that's where you get paid out from. But ultimately, we're all contributing to little pools anyway.
Yeah, no, and that's how unions work, right? You get the standard, you all pay into it. When everybody needs to be able to access this, they can. And the nice thing is, like, you're not going to have every single one of your employees needing to take leave at the same time.
No.
You have less of a risk of abuse of the systems if people know that they are taken care of. If I know that
That's
net
right.
is there, I'm not about to. Do you know when the last time I called in when I didn't need to be?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen anymore because my employer trusts that I'm going to take time when I need.
Yeah.
They trust I'm going to get my job done, and they know I'm going to. But when I was working hourly, at a dispensary or working at a sandwich shop, I would call off,
Come on.
whatever, because I'm
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go to work, because I want to go to the beach, and you're just so much less likely to do that when somebody cares and you know that they don't want to extract from you.
Yeah.
Being protected, it allows for people to behave differently.
Absolutely.
Feeling safe and secure does not it's proven to have a more positive impact on your health, which leads you to needing less of that bereavement.
Yeah.
So or the time off in general. So I like this because to me, it hires the standard for everybody without them having to be connected directly to a union because we don't really have access to that unless
That's
you're
right.
working for a large corporation.
That's right.
It can immediately represent the working people,
Yeah.
which most of us are.
1.6 million people would benefit from Flock right
Wow.
now in Michigan.
That's
Just out the
amazing.
gate, right? 1.6 million people.
Come on now.
This is some of the outcomes that they've been able to see in other states, right? Improved maternal and infant health outcomes, reduced
Of
stress,
course.
chronic disease management, improvements in chronic disease management. Reduced turnover costs, workforce retention,
Yes.
long-term labor force participation, all the things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But particularly for women,
Yeah.
right, who are often the caregivers within family situations. So, this, yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to me. And we think all three of these, right? And this is what we're talking about when we talk about everyday people, everyday power.
Yeah.
That we can actually come together as a movement and use our power to support these initiatives that are going to have a net benefit for our communities
Yeah.
and create felt difference
Yeah.
in the lives of our neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this is what we can be about. This is us coming together, building the kind of world that we want to live in, saying, this is how we take care of us in this moment, right? Where so many things feel outside of our control.
Yeah.
That this is a way for us to actually lean in and to do some shit. And to take the power into our own hands
Yeah.
and not depend on, systems that feel really, really, untrustworthy in this
Yeah.
moment.
I feel like the timing for these could also just not be any better too, right? As we're seeing a bunch of these federal tax cuts or like just federal cuts coming down the pipeline, a lot of safety nets are being removed for a lot of people across the country. So I think that having Flock, like that paid family leave, I think would be
Of course.
optimal for people who are going to be struggling to navigate things between, there's so many new ways to die, I think, right now.
Fun ways
Right.
to die.
Every
Well,
day your phone is like, upgrade on a way to die. Swear to God.
But between the lack of due process with immigration and
It's ridiculous.
flights not being as managed as well as they used to be, and like we're seeing like more airplane crashes, just like everything everywhere, right? It's gonna be a rough ride, and I think that having at least these baseline items of like, okay, at least corporations will no longer be able to lobby for their interests, which would make, a bad problem worse, especially here and within our state. If things do happen, like we're all gonna be a lot more stressed. Like now we have this paid sick time, we could at least take care of ourselves better, so we can like continue with the movement. And then with obviously like preparing our next generation. Like I think also, especially after COVID, with having to do everything from home and be virtual and missing out on a lot of like developmental growth in school. Like I think that our kids are really going to be needing that investment. So it just feels like a good trio of things.
Timely.
Yeah.
And
It's
people
so
are pissed
timely.
off.
Oh,
And people
yeah.
are also really upset over,
Who isn't?
particularly I think over the Dems and how they've kind of shown up in this space, and again, this is a way for us
I mean, the worst.
to take that power and do it something ourselves, rather than rely on a partisan system which feels broken.
Yeah, no, it does. It's definitely a time where we need to build the strongest communities that we can. We need to do what we can to have control over the non-federal thing, the statewide thing. It's just such a good time for this. And I keep thinking about like the world, like how quickly we can change things. Like one of these things would be great, but if all three of them happened, like boom, 2027, 2026, like come on. Like I can just imagine like
But we can actually make it for a
we
while.
can make it, we can make it through the rest of this this administration. We can make it through the rest of this if we are stronger as a community. And if all three of these things passed simultaneously, it would just be like, you know what? At the very least, we can survive in Michigan, which is
Imagine
a
the world
climate
we can
haven.
build.
People. We just went to a conference and they were talking about, Michigan's trying to, build back the population, and that we haven't really been able to have a substantial growth. And so they're just really, really working on that. And I'm like,
And
stop
we are a
taxing
climate
people.
haven, but who are the people that are going to be able to come here?
Exactly.
100%.
Right? And if we don't create some protections for the everyday people of Michigan,
Absolutely.
we're going to see this influx soon of wealthy folks coming into our state as they
Yes.
flee crises from across the country.
All the rich folks in California are going to come out this way.
Come on.
They already are.
Yeah, or from Phoenix, from Atlanta, from
Anywhere.
like anywhere, DC. I mean, you name it, they're gonna be wanting to be in Michigan
Yeah.
to exploit our resources. And if we don't put some protections in place for our people now, it's just gonna get worse.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important for us to talk about like how we're trying to get this done.
Yeah.
Can we move there for a second?
Oh,
Yeah,
of
of
course.
course.
We can anywhere.
So, as we mentioned earlier, in order for a ballot to be voted on, we first have to collect signatures to kind of qualify to the Board of Canvassers that enough people actually want to be able to vote on this in November.
Yeah.
So that's the phase that we are in now, is we're about to be moving into signature collection.
Okay.
So the policy language for all three of these initiatives is getting firmed up. It should be ready by early June so that we can be able to go and begin collecting signatures as early as, hopefully as early as the start of June, maybe by the middle of June. And then once we start collecting signatures, we only have 180 days to get all that we need. Our target for Kent County is 40,000 signatures for each of these ballot initiatives.
Okay.
Right? This is what the math has been cut, the organizer math has been cut out across the state and said,
Yeah, so this is like our turf that we're
this
gonna
is our
focus
turf,
on.
40,000 people across Kent County that we're trying to get. And UCC is serving as the hub to mobilize folks.
Okay.
The way we're doing this, and this is happening here in Kent County, but it's also happening across the state, is we're trying to mobilize the community to do this rather than rely on like paid signature gatherers.
Of course, yeah.
So we want to build a base of people, who we're calling justice captains, that are dedicated to this vision of making Kent County a more just and loving community for all. And by doing that to support these ballot initiatives, right?
Yeah.
So that what that means practically is you're going out and you're collecting some signatures, 100 signatures for these Michigan for the Many initiatives to support this work.
Yeah.
And we need the community to turn out to do this.
Yeah.
So we're, sort of shaking the bushes and making it known that we need all the people power that we can in order to make sure that we get this done in Kent County. We have regular info sessions online that you can join to find out how you want to be involved.
And how do people join?
Yeah, so if you want to sign up, you can go to urbancorecollective.org, and there's a landing page there that will take you to the Everyday People, Everyday Power movement, or Everyday People, Everyday Power campaign, and the signups are there. We're also having a big launch on May 20th. We're firming up the location for that now, but it'll be in the evening on May 20. If you go to that landing page, again, you'll be able to get the final details. But that's a place where you can come, learn more about each of the ballot initiatives, and be able to get plugged into being a Justice Captain.
Yeah.
I will say Justice Captains are going to be fun, right? Like the trainings are going to be, it's not just going to be you out there beating the pavement, trying to like on your own. You're going to get a lot of training, a lot of development. There's going to be lots of curated opportunities for folks to go out in teams to work on things. There's going to be some like games, like who can get the most signatures. Maybe we create little pods and stuff like that. And one of our values at UCC is to infuse joy and celebration into the kinds of things that we do, because this is hard work, but hard work can be fun. And so that's really a big emphasis for us. So the pitch for us is really to ask people, are you ready to join a movement, to build deep?
100 signatures is so easy.
100 signatures is easy. Yeah. I mean, comb through your messenger list and
Your own people. You could probably
you can
get
100 signatures, no problem.
Yeah, I'm thinking even like texting 25 people,
That's right.
I mean, and usually if you are connected to folks who care, that's going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
But also like, how hard is it going to be to find 100 people who make less than $300,000 a year?
Or whose energy bill has
or
gone up,
they love,
in the last year and a
who's
half.
in love with consumers' energy.
So it's I think it's a pretty easy sell on all three. I will say there
Flock.
is, opposition. The opposition is going to be coming out hard. So you might hear a lot of things like they're trying to raise our taxes, or they're trying to, hurt small businesses and stuff like that. And, they got a lot of money to say things about what we're trying to do. So just asking folks to, do your homework. If you've got questions, you can come check us out at UCC. You'll be able to find my contact information. Erica and Nancy are out here doing this work
Hit us up.
hit us up, and we're happy to answer any questions that y'all have. But really, we see this as a way for us to, again, come together and take care of ourselves by supporting these statewide
take
initiatives.
care of us.
That's right.
Yeah. Oof, wouldn't it be so cool to come from a state that did something like this? Like it would just be nice. Like I want a little bit of pride back here. You know?
Y'all did this thing.
Yeah, like we can really do that, and we can really, I think it just sets a precedence for how we can move forward.
Yeah.
So usually we end with a call to action.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the first call to action is put your
Be a
name on this
Justice Captain.
ballot.
Be a Justice Captain.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Be a Justice Captain.
Well, yes. Sign the ballots. I guess that's the lowest hanging
Okay.
fruit.
Well, for people
is if
who
you see us around.
can sign the ballot.
Okay, yeah, good question. So you do have to be a registered voter here in the state of Michigan in order to sign the ballot. And you have to be over 18. So those are the two requirements to be able to sign the ballot. You also, if you're interested in collecting signatures with us and being a Justice Captain, you also have to be over 18 and a U.S. citizen. So those are just the only two parameters.
Okay.
But if you're a young person and you're like, no, I'm really passionate about this stuff, we got ways for the young people to be involved. We've got youth organizers that are cooking on some really fun strategies for young folks. And if you also feel like, you know what, maybe you're not a U.S. citizen, maybe you're not registered to vote, and you, for whatever reason, do not want to, or you just don't feel able to be out collecting signatures, there's lots of other ways to be involved with the movement. We need carpoolers, we need sponsors, we need folks to proof signatures after we've collected them. right? We need,
Yeah,
you
a lot
know,
of
we're
the
doing a lot of
behind-the-scenes work.
trainings. We need
Yeah.
trainers for stuff, all kinds of roles that you can play within the movement. So even if you don't feel like you can collect signatures, which I'm going to really emphasize, we need to collect the signatures, y'all.
Of course.
You know,
Like, that is a must.
that is a must. So we need that. But if you're not able to do that, don't feel like there's not a role for you or a place for you to land
Yeah.
within the space. Everybody is welcome, and we need all of us to
Yeah.
get this done. Yeah.
We got this.
Boom. Mic
It's like,
drop.
how much
Don't
better
drop
can you
these.
we
But no,
can't.
really, no. This is super cool, and really, like I know, like this is not just a cliche thing. Like, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for getting connected to these statewide ballots. Thank you for just caring enough to make our communities better, because it does take a lot of energy. It takes a lot of resource. It takes a lot of time and planning and just, but to better everybody is just such it's all that I ever want to do, is to be able to say, look, I helped. I did all that I could. And so just, I admire you for being out here the way that you are.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
And everybody else can show up in the same way. Come and be a
course.
part of it.
Yeah. It's like everybody complains about people becoming more individualistic and, just like the lack of safety measures. But like, this is a way to easily make new friends.
Yeah.
Get involved in the movement, and like invest in like real change. So.
Real change.
Shit, I've
And
been
it's, like,
complaining about
material
everything
progress
lately. I need to
There's
do
a space
something
for that
more
too.
productive. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Erica and Nancy. Thanks for listening to Green Rapids. We'll see you next time.
And sign up to be a justice captain if you want to, and if you can.
Yes.
You should.
Hashtag Michigan for the many.
Everyday people, everyday power.
Bye.